Door-to-door salespeople can be downright annoying, especially when they refuse to take no for an answer. But at the end of the day, they're just trying to earn a living. In 1990s Germany, however, failing to make enough sales could cost a solicitor far more than a paycheck. For some, it cost them their lives. Let's talk about it. She was only known as Lady Kalaschnikow. Her real name was Petra, but no one was allowed to call her that. In the 1990s, she ruled over a group of door-to-door magazine salespeople with an iron fist. Once you worked for her, you belonged to her. What police would later describe as a solicitor mafia recruited young men, runaways, alcoholics, and people with nowhere else to turn. Their job was simple: sell magazine subscriptions. Petra promised them fast money, freedom, and adventure. But once they joined, there was almost no way out. Former members later described sleeping in filthy, overcrowded rooms, sometimes with 5 or more people packed together. Food wasn't guaranteed either. If they didn't sell enough subscriptions, they often didn't eat. And hunger was only the beginning. Those who failed to meet their sales targets were beaten, humiliated, and terrorized. Some were abandoned in the middle of the woods with no money and no way home. The salespeople were also ordered to lie. They told heartbreaking stories about starving children or injured animals. Whatever it took to convince someone to sign a magazine subscription. Every lie came straight from their bosses. And no boss was more feared than Lady Kalaschnikow. Petra herself had grown up in poverty. With too many siblings and too little money, she turned to sex work, adult films, and even mud wrestling, in an attempt to escape that life and afford the luxury she craved. Then, in the 1990s, she discovered something even more profitable: making other people earn that money for her. She ruled through fear and violence. In June of 1997, that violence turned deadly. A 23-year-old member of her organization was taken into a forest, where he was tortured and interrogated for hours by a young woman named Deborah, Petra's closest confidant and enforcer. According to investigators, Deborah carried out Petra's orders without question. The young man did not survive. Just 2 months later, another body was discovered. A rival gang leader named Volkmar was found dead in his home, shot and with his throat cut. Investigators concluded that the murder was tied to a power struggle between competing solicitor gangs, and Petra became the prime suspect. On October 1st, 1997, Petra and Deborah were arrested. Both were sentenced to life in prison for their roles in the killings. Petra, however, would spend only a few years behind bars before dying in prison. With her downfall, one of Germany's most notorious solicitor gangs finally came to an end.